October 23, 1944. A forested German defensive line in Belgium. The German veteran soldiers wait, confident in their experience. They believe the American force approaching is green and easy to defeat. They don't know the man commanding them is someone they've never encountered in such form. Terry de la Mesa Allen Sr., known to his men as Terrible Terry. Family and upbringing. Allen was born April 1, 1888 at Fort Douglas, Utah, into a long military family. His father, Colonel Samuel Allen, was a career U.S. Army officer. His maternal grandfather, Colonel Carlos Alvarez de la Mesa, fought at Battle of Gettysburg during the American Civil War. Growing up on frontier posts and cavalry camps, Allen learned soldiering early. Riding horses before reading, shooting before arithmetic. West Point and setback. In 1907, he entered the United States Military Academy at West Point via appointment. But he struggled. Poor performance in mathematics, gunnery, and ordnance meant he was dismissed in 1911. Rather than quit, he changed path. Attended the Catholic University of America, earned a BA in 1912, and secured a commission as second lieutenant in the cavalry. Early service, Mexican border and World War I. Posted to Fort Myer, Virginia, then to the 14th Cavalry at Eagle Pass, Texas. He saw border duty dealing with ammunition smugglers and raids, earning promotions to first lieutenant, 1916, and captain, 1917. In World War I, he sailed to France in 1918, was assigned to the 315th Ammunition Train, then to command 3rd Battalion, 358th Infantry Regiment of the 90th Division. He fought at Saint-Mihiel and in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. On October 24, 1918, he was shot in the face by machine gun fire, yet refused evacuation and returned to command, earning a Silver Star and 2 Purple Hearts. Why this matters for the story. Allen's rejection by the conventional military academy established his outsider identity, a commander who didn't fit the mold. Early cavalry and border duty experience gave him a practical, aggressive approach rather than doctrinal. World War I combat hardened him and introduced the concept of night attacks. He realized surprise and darkness could reduce casualties and disorient the enemy. Our story now comes to mid-1942. The U.S. enters World War II. Allen, by then promoted through the ranks and known for his unconventional style, will take command of the storied 1st Infantry Division, Big Red One, and later transform the raw 104th into a night-fighting beast. German soldiers facing him would whisper his name. Terrible Terry. Rise of a combat leader. By 1940, the U.S. Army was rebuilding under General George C. Marshall. Marshall recognized Allen's toughness and field sense, promoting him directly from lieutenant colonel to brigadier general. A leap few ever made. 2 years later, in May 1942, Allen assumed command of the 1st Infantry Division, the legendary Big Red One. The division's task would be to lead America's first major ground offensive of the war. Operation Torch, the Allied landings in North Africa. U.S. Army Center of Military History. Operation Torch, Baptism by Fire. November 8, 1942. Waves of landing craft carried Allen's men toward the Algerian coast. German-trained Vichy French forces defended the beaches around Oran. The landings were chaotic, but Allen's troops secured their objectives after bitter fighting, taking hundreds of casualties but establishing the first American toehold in the European African theater. For Allen, combat command was instinctive. He drove his staff hard, stayed near the front, and demanded decisive movement. Speed saves lives, he told his officers. His focus wasn't on pristine formations or perfect uniforms, it was on results. Kasserine Pass and the turning point. Early 1943, German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel counterattacked through Tunisia. At Kasserine Pass, inexperienced American units broke under pressure, retreating in confusion. Allen's division, however, countered effectively. At Jebel el Hamara, he and General Paul Robinette mounted a counterattack that halted the German advance. Allen personally directed artillery fire and repositioned troops under fire, earning Rommel's grudging respect. U.S. Army Combat Studies Institute Monograph 2. After this battle, the morale of the U.S. Army shifted. American troops could fight and win against the Afrika Korps when properly led. El Getter, the first U.S. victory against German armor. March 1943, near El Getter, Tunisia. The Germans attacked with tanks and artillery. When staff urged a retreat, Allen refused. "I will like hell pull out," he barked. "I'll shoot the first man who does." He stood his ground as enemy tanks closed to within sight of his headquarters. His defiance inspired his troops to hold firm. U.S. tank destroyers and artillery smashed the German attack, marking the first clear American victory over veteran panzer divisions. By May 1943, Allen's Big Red One led the final assault on Tunis. Axis resistance collapsed. 250,000 German and Italian troops surrendered. North Africa was liberated. Sicily, Operation Husky. July 10, 1943, Allied forces invaded Sicily. General George Patton handpicked Allen's 1st Division to storm the beaches at Gela, the most dangerous landing zone. They faced fierce counterattacks by the Hermann Göring Panzer Division. Naval guns fired over the heads of infantry as Allen's soldiers repelled wave after wave of German tanks. The beachhead held. Patton later said that no other division could have survived that assault. Omar Bradley, observing, agreed. Troina, a mountain of fire. Late July to early August 1943, the division fought for Troina, a mountain fortress blocking the road across Sicily. For 6 days, the Germans launched 24 counterattacks. Allen's men repelled them all. Artillery thundered. Soldiers clawed up rocky slopes under machine gun fire. By August 6, Troina fell. The cost was heavy, but the path to Messina lay open. Time magazine placed Allen on its cover, calling him the symbol of the American fighting general. Yet, behind the praise, friction brewed within high command. Relief and controversy. On August 7, 1943, 2 days before the magazine hit newsstands, Allen and his deputy, Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., were relieved of command by Omar Bradley. Officially, discipline in the Big Red One had eroded. Off record, Eisenhower and Patton had decided earlier that Allen was too unorthodox for the coming campaigns. Bradley later admitted, "None excelled the unpredictable Terry Allen in leadership of troops, but he lacked the instincts of a good disciplinarian." To his soldiers, though, Allen was irreplaceable. They revered him because he lived as they did, fought beside them, and never asked for what he wouldn't do himself. Allen returned to the United States humiliated yet unbroken. He requested another command, determined to prove that his battlefield methods, training hard, fighting smart, trusting soldiers, were not luck. Within months, he would get his second chance with an untested division of farm boys and factory workers. What he built next would terrify the Wehrmacht even more than the Big Red One ever had. Training for darkness. When Terry de la Mesa Allen Sr. took command of the 104th Infantry Division on October 15, 1943, he inherited a fresh formation of mostly young, inexperienced soldiers. Unlike typical divisions, he turned the unit into a night fighting machine. Training time, 30 to 35 hours per week of tactical instruction, roughly 3 times what other divisions received. His key directives included: find them, fix them, fight them, take the high ground, and above all, night attack, night attack, night attack. The result: troops accustomed to moving silently through woods, coordinating by hand signals, using compasses when no moonlight, and executing fast assaults before dawn. This intensive preparation paid off later. The Germans would later label the division Night Fighters. Into the fray, Belgium and the Mark River. On October 23, 1944, the 104th arrived in Belgium. Germany experienced soldiers awaited them, expecting a rookie division. Instead, Allen unleashed his troops at night. Movements across the Mark River on November 2 were calculated and sudden. German defenders were caught by surprise. Alert levels collapsed. In one patrol, American infantry overran positions before the enemy sounded the alarm. Artillery and machine guns fired blindly into darkness. Attackers vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Germans passed urgent warnings up their chain. This American formation fights at night. They attack when we sleep. Allen had taken the rulebook of daylight warfare and flipped it. Darkness became his shield and his hammer. Holding the line, Battle of the Bulge and beyond. During the Battle of the Bulge, December 1944 to February 1945, the 104th held defensive positions from December 15th through February 22nd, absorbing German counterattacks before going over to the offensive. Allen's insistence on night training meant the division was less fatigued by darkness and surprise attacks than many veteran units. They responded calmly under fire. After February, the division crossed the Roer River, captured Cologne on March 5, 1945, and then drove 193 miles in 9 days into Germany proper. Their final push included a 175-mile advance in 15 days, liberating the Nordhausen concentration camp on April 11th. The evidence of atrocity galvanized the troops. Allen ordered photographic documentation and forced local civilians to witness the crimes. Allen's attention to morale, training, and leadership, even in the darkest conditions, turned the Timberwolves into one of the finest assault divisions in the European theater. His former critic, Omar Bradley, later told him, "Terry, I'm pleasantly surprised to see these young Timberwolves of yours already ranked along with the 1st and the 9th as the finest assault divisions in the ETO." Nordhausen, when the war's purpose became plain. April 11, 1945. The 104th Infantry Division and the 3rd Armored Division entered the Nordhausen Bulk Kaserne subcamp, part of the Dora Mittelbau complex. The Timberwolves found thousands of dead and hundreds of starving survivors. Allen, who respected a tough opponent in open battle, saw an industrialized crime. He ordered photographs taken, medical aid rushed in, and local German civilians brought to witness the dead. For many Timberwolves, this day fixed the answer to why they fought. Halle, battle, truce, and a reluctant preservation. April 15th to 19th, 1945. The 104th fought street to street in Halle and Ursala. Artillery and tanks smashed strong points while infantry cleared block by block. During the siege, Count Felix von Luckner, World War I Sea Devil, sought a truce to spare sections of the city. Allen listened, weighed the ground truth, and accepted limited surrenders that reduced civilian losses while his division maintained pressure. It was a pragmatic pause inside a relentless advance. The Rhine, Cologne, and the link-up on the Elbe. By early March 1945, the 104th helped take Cologne and kept driving. On March 22nd, they moved east of the Rhine with the broader Allied push. In late April, near Pretsk on the Elbe, Timberwolves made contact with Soviet troops. Two fronts closed like jaws around the Reich. For Allen's soldiers, the map lines and mileage mattered less than a simpler fact. Not one major assigned objective had been lost on their watch. Night fighters, a reputation earned. From October 1944 through the war's end, the 104th fought about 200 consecutive days. Allen's doctrine, aggressive night movement, simple orders, disciplined rehearsals, leaders forward, turned darkness into an American advantage. German units began warning each other about an American division that owned the night. Even skeptics acknowledged results. Repeated river crossings at night, infiltration past strong points, and reduced casualties compared with daylight frontal assaults. Relief without disgrace, results without polished parade grounds. Allen's 1943 relief from the 1st Division never left him. Officially, it was about discipline. Unofficially, senior commanders doubted whether his gritty style scaled to a long war. His answer came in Europe's forests and river lines. Training that others called excessive produced a unit that never failed a major task. Senior leaders, including Omar Bradley, later rated the 104th among the finest assault divisions in the theater. After the guns, retirement, the award, and the grave next to a son, Allen retired on August 31, 1946, as a major general. The institution that had dismissed him, West Point, eventually honored his name with an award in military science. He settled in El Paso, near Fort Bliss. The war followed him home in a new way. On October 17, 1967, his only son, Lieutenant Colonel Terry de la Mesa Allen Jr., commanding 228th Infantry, 1st Infantry Division, was killed at the Battle of Ong Tan near Loc Ninh, Vietnam. The elder Allen's health broke after that. He died September 12, 1969, and was buried at Fort Bliss National Cemetery beside his son. What militaries kept, doctrine by other names. Allen's methods prefigured later U.S. doctrine. Ruthless rehearsal, simple schemes of maneuver, leaders near the point of friction, and night operations treated as a core competency, not an emergency measure. He prioritized outcomes over form, unit cohesion over ceremony, repetition over rhetoric. Modern training pipelines echo his bias. Fight like you train, and train to fight in the dark. Closing frame, the German whisper and the American answer. The Wehrmacht learned to fear the Timberwolves because Allen taught an uncomfortable truth. Surprise is a weapon, discipline is not a haircut, and courage is contagious when the commander shares the risks. He never wore 3 stars, never led an army, and was once fired at the height of success. Yet he built 2 divisions that fought as shock units and left a record with no failed major objective. That is why the night in 1944 belonged to the Timberwolves, and why Terrible Terry remains the kind of commander soldiers still talk about when doctrine turns real. Historians describe Terry de la Mesa Allen Sr. as a nonconformist commander whose battlefield effectiveness often clashed with peacetime military norms. One article summarizes, "He was admired by the enlisted men who served in his command, a soldier's soldier." Another overview notes his early career failures at West Point, mixed staff ratings, yet outsized combat results. In short, the verdict: tactically brilliant, operationally effective, but politically and institutionally awkward. Voices of soldiers. Soldiers under Allen's command consistently highlight 2 themes: leadership by example. Allen many times visited the front, accepted risk with his men, and demanded the same standards he met himself. Training realism. Particularly with the 104th, troops did night marches, live-fire exercises, forced marches in rain and darkness, preparing them for the unexpected. These practices translated into confidence in battle and fewer breakdowns when under surprise attacks. Modern military relevance. Allen's key lessons resonate today. Night operations as core capability rather than contingency. Simplicity of plan under stress. Avoid complexity when troops must act under darkness or chaos. Trust-based delegation. Subordinate units given trust and rehearsal will perform better than micromanaged ones. Military scholars cite Allen when discussing the transition from daylight-centric warfare to full-spectrum operations. Legacy and institutional memory. Institutions honor Allen in several ways. The United States Military Academy at West Point gives the General Terry de la Mesa Allen Award for Top Cadet in Military Science, ironically to the academy where he was dismissed. His grave at Fort Bliss National Cemetery, El Paso, Texas, lies next to his son, Terry Allen Jr., who was killed in Vietnam, linking lineage of combat leadership across generations. The legacy of the 104th Infantry Division, Timberwolves, continues through veteran associations and commemorative events, often referencing Allen's training doctrine. Why his name still matters. Allen never commanded an army, never made 3 stars, and was relieved at the peak of his success. Yet he built 2 divisions, one veteran, one green, that fought relentlessly and effectively. He turned darkness, chaos, and green recruits into weapons. That is why German soldiers during World War II whispered his name, and why military professionals today study his methods.